With it now confirmed that Daniel Ricciardo will be a free agent in 2023, the time has come for the Australian to seriously consider his options for the future of his career. And while it was initially thought that it would be as simple as choosing between the available teams, new rumors have emerged that paint a bleak picture, possibly involving Ricciardo sitting out the next season. Without further ado, let's take a close look at those reports, the surprising fact that he's very likely to be wearing the Mercedes overalls in 2023, and how Ricciardo has responded. After months of speculation, Ricciardo and McLaren announced on the eve of the Belgian Grand Prix that he will be leaving the team at the end of this season, 2 years into his 3-year contract. Since then, he has had to deal with a barrage of questions from people who want to know what's next for the Honey Badger. Predictably, it's been a stressful time for the 33-year-old, and being unable to score points since the reveal has added to his frustration. Speaking ahead of the Monza Grand Prix, the Australian expressed his stress, but reiterated that his sole focus is on driving. It's tricky at the moment. I think it's not helped by the on-track stuff being tough. But even me, I put on the helmet, I shut it out, and I feel I'm very good at that. But maybe I'm not superhuman. And I don't want to be naive. I'm sure there is still some of that hanging about, so I don't think there is a way where it's like I feel like I'm driving and attacking. But yeah, maybe I'm naive to say it's not there. This weekend, he returns to the site of his 8th and last Formula 1 victory, a P1 at last year's Italian Grand Prix. That was without a doubt the high point of his McLaren career, but Ricciardo concedes that there won't be a repeat this Sunday. But while his on-track performance is one thing, Ricciardo's future in the sport will undoubtedly be on his mind. Being sacked by McLaren after a miserable 18 months in the shadow of a younger teammate Lando Norris, and with Pierre Gasly expected to be released by AlphaTauri to take the only remaining midfield spot at Alpine, the only open spots on the 2023 Grand Prix grid are at the back of the field. However, as well-funded rookies, including American racer Colton Herta, who has tested for McLaren and is getting a huge push from the USA thanks to the hugely popular Netflix series Drive to Survive, look for a way into Formula 1, even the tail-ender Williams and Haas teams may close their doors to Ricciardo. Speaking to reporters at the Dutch Grand Prix, Ricciardo said that he is considering every possible opportunity that would keep his F1 career alive. The latest twist in the Ricciardo saga suggests a possible sabbatical in 2023, after he was filmed and overheard saying to Red Bull racer Sergio Perez while walking to the grid ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix last weekend that he will take a year off and return in 2024. That film was made all the more reputable by the fact that Ricciardo has not denied such a move earlier. I'm pretty open-minded about any scenario. I think there's pros and cons with all of it. There's pros with having some time off as well. Currently, the 18 months I have had has been more challenging than not, so maybe some time away would be good. But then also staying active is good. That's why I kind of want to hear everything, even if it's a reserve. I don't want to be too proud to say, I'm too good for that. I just want to hear everything and see what makes sense. Other drivers have taken breaks in the past, of course, including 4-time world champion Alain Prost, who was sacked by Ferrari before rejoining Williams. Sitting out the 2023 F1 season could work in Ricciardo's favor, with several drivers potentially heading towards retirement in the next 2 years, including 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton and 2-time title winner Fernando Alonso. With a rumored $24 million severance payout from McLaren, which has cut a year out from his contract to take Oscar Piastri in 2023, Ricciardo's life at his Los Angeles mansion would not be too difficult. He could also pursue a career revival in IndyCar in the United States, or even a move to endurance racing where Porsche, BMW, Cadillac, and Peugeot are leading in resurgence, as fellow Australian Mark Webber did with Porsche after retiring from Formula 1. That, however, seems unlikely. It was reported earlier that McLaren CEO Zak Brown had offered Ricciardo to move him to another one of its racing programs, but that he had refused. And if that's not enough, Ricciardo confirmed it himself in an interview at the Belgian Grand Prix. It's honestly the only racing I'm really interested in at the moment. My mindset is still, I'm an F1 driver. I'm proud of what I've done, but I still feel there's a bit more to show, to give. I wouldn't race another category next year. The Honey Badger has been racing in Formula 1 since 2011, when he debuted with HRT. He went on to Toro Rosso, Red Bull, where he had his best days, Renault, and finally McLaren. With 8 wins and 32 podium finishes, he has finished third in the Drivers' Championship twice, once in 2014 and once in 2016. But despite his impressive track record, Ricciardo was consistently outdriven by teammate Norris, and the Australian stock has plummeted since joining McLaren. As a result, despite the fact that most people believe Ricciardo still has that magic in him, the teams that still have open spots may pass on him. And with the existence of that video of Ricciardo discussing a sabbatical, it is becoming increasingly likely that he will take the reserve driver role and return at a later date. At least that's what Formula One journalist Joe Sayward, who has written extensively on the subject, believes. The latest word is that Daniel might take a year off in 2023 if he is not offered the Alpine drive. Then, as an experienced F1 winner, he could return to the sport as a reserve in 2024, helping to rebuild his confidence by measuring his performance against the top names. I hear he has been talking to Mercedes about such a role, which would put him in with a chance of a race drive in the future if Lewis Hamilton decides that he has had enough. That must happen eventually, and while Mercedes has George Russell in place, it is waiting for the next big thing. However, with all the speculation about his future, it's more important than ever for him to tune it out and focus on getting the best results he can in the races he still has with McLaren. But returning to Monza this weekend will undoubtedly be a strange sensation for the Australian. Ricciardo took his only win in 2 years with McLaren in the last year's Italian Grand Prix, leading teammate Lando Norris home with a 1-2 win, McLaren's first F1 victory in 9 years. Ricciardo returns to Monza after a disastrous Dutch Grand Prix, qualifying 18th and finishing 17th in Zandvoort last weekend, with the Australian admitting his return will evoke weird feelings amid his McLaren struggles. I'm sure there will be some weird feelings going back. Certainly, maybe some happy, sad feelings because it was such a big moment last year, but I think we're in a different position this year. I'd love to say we would be fighting for a podium, but I think we know the truth at the moment where we are. And with his F1 future uncertain, Ricciardo stated that he is still motivated to end his McLaren career on a high note, saying he doesn't want to go out on a 17th place. I do want to get to Monza with the energy that I know I can show and the result I know I can get. I don't want to go out on a 17th place or something like that, so I'm going to keep fighting through it. I love combat sports and I am used to watching and supporting fighters who get knocked down and get back up, so I'm trying to put myself in that position now. I think by the end of the season for sure I will want to just switch off and spend some time home, but I'm not ready for it yet. It has been at some times uncomfortable the past couple of weekends, but I'm really not ready to just go and hide and close the door yet. After all this, there's a bit of weight off the shoulders and it's just go out there and race, go and have fun. I always feel like I've got a point to prove, but although the team's made this decision, the team is behind me to make me get the most out of the last 9 races and to finish on a high. So there's a lot of people that support me and want me to do well. I'm not one to just drive around and enjoy it. I want to drive around as competitively as possible so there's no slacking off. It's just go out, have fun, and try to get another Monza moment. What are your thoughts now that the possibility that Ricciardo won't be on the grid the next year is getting closer to becoming a reality? Do you believe the rumors that he will be joining Mercedes as a reserve driver? Let us know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. It helps us out a lot.